All right, we are here with Meg Scanlon. And Meg, let me ask you a couple of questions about lifting, then we're going to get into kind of some fun this or that questions. So first off, what's been, would you say, has been your biggest struggle or obstacle in your lifting career, and what did you do to kind of help break through that?
Yeah, for me, there was one specific instance, right? And it led to a period of time, but the specific instance was my first meet back after having my twin girls. I ended up getting a little injured, right? A little banged up.
Yeah.
And it was unfortunate for a lot of reasons. One, it was the first meet I'd competed in a long time, so it's a huge hit on your confidence. But then secondarily, I was having trouble moving in life after the meet, right? Like some injuries are, it's part of the sport, but as a new mom, it made life very, very challenging because at the time, I had twins that were about 7 months old.
Yeah.
So they relied on me. They relied on me to pick them up and move them and feed them. And I was having a hard time doing those motions because it was a hamstring low back issue. And through that, it was a meet that I competed in June. It kind of led to a couple of months where I didn't know if I wanted to do the sport anymore. And it was almost like an identity crisis, right? In a way, that seems very dramatic. But it was a time where a lot of things were uncertain. I didn't know what I was doing as a mom, right, of new babies. And I also felt like this one thing I knew what I was doing, I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah.
And I can't do it because I'm in pain. So that was the most challenging part of, I would say, my powerlifting career. And it wasn't necessarily something I just got over either. It was almost I had to go through it to get to the other side and try different things out to see if I even wanted to powerlift anymore. I slowly tested the waters to get back in. And it even started from the standpoint of I reached out to the woman who's my coach now, but not to coach me. She was working as more in a physio role just to help me move and not be in pain. That was my only goal. Because I like to move. I wanted to move, but I didn't want to be in pain anymore. I definitely didn't want to be in pain in my day-to-day life. So it was a slow start back to the barbell, but once I started to find I trusted my body a little bit more and I wasn't in pain day to day and I wasn't in pain squatting and deadlifting, she actually asked me, like, do you want to try this again? Like, do you want to try to be great, essentially? And that's when I went all in on powerlifting. So like 6 years later, right? Like I was still weightlifting and I was powerlifting and doing all these different things. But it was kind of at that point I gave myself the opportunity to just powerlift. So it was, in my mind, almost the start of what I'm doing now, even though it was many years down the line.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, what would you say has been the thing that you found most rewarding during your strength career?
It kind of stems off of that. And mostly it's just because of how hard that period of time was. And my first meet back was one experience, and I think my first experience that when I finished the meet, it was overwhelming. And it was a meet, it was a local meet, it didn't necessarily mean anything to anyone but me, right? But it was the overwhelming sense that I could do something and not be in fear. You know what I mean? Like, it was the first time I ever had fear of movement, and I was able to complete the meet and push myself and be okay. I think a lot of times as new mothers, after being pregnant and having children, like you have this fear that your body is not the same, it's not as strong anymore. But in reality, it's so resilient. And yeah, it's different, but it's more resilient, and you learn how to train better, you know? I've learned how to be more in touch with my body, and that meet specifically was a turning point for me, and like trusting my body again and knowing that I was capable.
It's really cool to kind of come out on the backside of that.
Yeah.
And obviously, motherhood's not something I've ever experienced. I can only imagine how much more on top of that, because as a lifter, we experience pain, setback, and just like, I don't even know if I can function in life, much less compete again. And then, like you said, you're taking that's your experience is a whole nother level past anything I've ever experienced in terms of dealing with everything as it relates to motherhood. So that's pretty awesome. You came out on the other side, and not only have you survived, but truly thrived, right? And winning multiple world championships since that point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool. I mean, as a parent, right? Like your kids grow, right? And it was something where I feel like in the past 4 years almost that I've kind of grown as they've grown into the sport, right? Like they're growing as people, but I feel like I've grown and matured as an athlete, and it's been a really cool thing. And I feel like they've almost been along for the journey, which is the coolest thing overall, you know? But it's kind of like a special added bonus, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So shifting gears a little bit, what's the most impressive thing you've ever seen someone do in the gym or in a meet?
Okay. So the most impressive thing I've ever seen, bar none, and it was the first time I saw it too, was 1,000 pounds being squatted raw.
Yeah.
I was at the Arnold one year and Ray Williams was competing, and it was the first time someone had thrown 1,000 pounds on the bar raw, and it was just like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like it's something I can't even imagine having on my body, of course. And I know like weight is weight, right? So what's heavy for me is gonna feel heavy, what's heavy for you will feel heavy, and that feeling is the same. And I support and understand that and believe in that. But there's something about throwing 1,000 pounds on your back and having to walk out with it. It is an event.
Yeah.
You know? And you see the bar like wings just flapping away. It was like the most impressive and the coolest barrier I think I've seen broken like in person.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely remember that moment. I don't know if you remember leading up to that at all, seeing Ray doing any of his squats. I believe he was a strength and conditioning, or maybe still is, a strength and conditioning coach. And he was doing squats of like over 800 pounds and like it looked like crappy running sneakers, right?
Yes.
And you're just like, I remember seeing that and be like, this guy is insanely strong. If he's doing that, right, like under these conditions, I don't even know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think anytime you see like the barrier, right, like the human barrier be pushed, and then you realize it's not actually a barrier, it's just something we made up, right?
Yeah.
To think like people aren't capable of it, but it just takes one person to break through, and then typically it's kind of like a waterfall effect, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's super cool about lifting and strength sports in general, or sports in general.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. To that same note, Benedict Magnuson, right? The first 1,000-pound raw deadlift. I know Andy Bolton lifted 1,000-pound first in a suit, but Benedict Magnuson doing it 1,000 pounds, no straps, no suit, just a weightlifting belt. I still remember. That's still one of my favorite lifts of all time I've ever seen someone do.
Yeah.
And just the ease at which he did, the smile, he put it down under control. It was just super, super impressive. Yeah, and to your point, like, it's just, and now a lot of people have pulled 1,000 pounds under those same conditions, right? But it's just, there's something about being the first person to do that. You're just like, this is actually possible.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and the coolest thing is like they had to believe it was possible before anyone did it.
Yeah.
And there's something about that, like that takes a special mindset to work so hard for something that everyone's like, I don't know if that's humanly possible.
Yeah.
Right? And it happens in all sports. Like people think of like the 4-minute mile or whatever, some barrier that's been there for a long time, and who's gonna break it? Is it gonna be broken? Is it humanly possible? And I think time over time, like people prove that it is, and it's just a matter of time and a matter of who.
Yeah, definitely. It's cool to be able to experience those, or to be alive during some of those, or if you're fortunate enough to, like in person, to be able to see some of those and the experience, be like, I was actually there when that happened, right? Those are really, really amazing experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's shift notes a little bit, kind of make it a little more fun, this or that. So I'm just going to kind of rapid fire some of the whiteboard questions. So for anybody who might not be familiar here at Titan, every week for the last, I think it's over 6 years, might be 7 years now, I've done a this or that type of question. So we'll kind of rapid fire, and if you want to elaborate on any of them, feel free to do so, stop me, but we'll just kind of rapid fire a few of them and kind of go from there.
Okay.
All right. So chicken wings, do you go drums or flats?
Flats.
All right. PB&J or grilled cheese?
PB&J.
All right. Would you rather be 3 feet tall or 9 feet tall?
Well, I mean 3, because it's way closer to what I am now.
All right. This is one we've had recently. Would you rather have 10 thumbs or 10 big toes?
10 big toes. One, I feel very strongly about this. I know you know, I think the 4 people that have answered thumbs have not thought this through. If I have 10 big toes, I'm gonna be able to lift and balance beautifully.
Totally.
If I have 10 thumbs, I'm gonna have a lot of problems doing the sport that I love to do. It's just not gonna work out.
Yeah. All right. Do you recline your seat on a flight?
Only overnight. You have to respect the person behind you, daytime short flight, and sitting upright. I'm alert.
I agree, by the way. Like, I have a super hard and fast rule. I'll even on an overnight flight, it kind of depends, but like, even as big as I am, because I've had that hit in my face so many times, I'm super cautious about doing that. I'll look back, if there's nobody behind me, that doesn't really happen in this day and age anymore.
No.
Flights are full, but like, there was a point at which like not every flight was full. Then I would do it, but short of that, I'm pretty much probably not going to do it. The exception probably being an overnight flight. Yeah, if it's like an 8+ hour flight, then I'm probably going to do that. Yeah.
So this is unheard of and random, but on my flight back this year from, I forget where the layover was, flying back, I had a whole row.
Come on.
I laid down because I can fit on a 3-seat row. I laid down.
Nice.
I know.
Yeah.
That's special.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So if you could have unlimited access to either sushi or tacos for the rest of your life. Tacos. Okay.
Tacos.
Yeah.
100%.
Nice. All right. Better two season combination, spring, summer, or fall, winter?
Spring, summer. Fall is the greatest season of all time, but I'm not taking winter. So I'm going spring and summer.
All right. Going back to food. If you could only choose one, the rest of you could never have again. Pasta or pizza?
Oh, that's tough. That one's tough. That's a tough one. I'm probably going pizza.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably going pizza.
Any particular reason, or is there a specific type of pizza, or is there a specific something that you or just in general?
I think just in general.
Yeah.
You know, you can do a lot of things with it.
Yeah, true.
You can do a lot of things with pasta.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in general, I like a good pizza better.
Okay. Yeah, me too. All right. So this scenario, we take 20% off of your best lift. We add 20% to your worst lift. Do you make that exchange or no?
I make this exchange.
All right, talk me through it.
Okay, so my best lift, like we're just looking at my lifts, right?
Yeah.
My best lift is my bench.
Yep.
Okay, my worst lift is my deadlift. Mm-hmm. My deadlift is a larger number than my bench. So if I'm taking 20% off of my bench, I'm losing, say, my bench is 140. I lose, I don't know, 20%.
28
kilos.
Yeah.
But if I take my deadlift, my best deadlift is 215. So I'm taking 20% of 215, right?
Yeah.
So that's greater than, and I get a bigger total.
Perfect. All right.
Taking the bigger total.
Makes sense. All right. That wraps up all of our questions for Meg. You can find her on Instagram at
Meg Scanlon.
Thank you again for tuning in. See you next time.